Previously on the Motoring World Experience.
Is there anywhere you want to film and do like a photography?
Well, there's so many places. There's so much stuff that goes on in the United States. There's big shows I'd love to attend in Texas. I'd love to see the California scene, especially the lowrider scene out there, where it evolved, where it came from.
And now, back to the Motoring World Experience.
So going back further in time, like in your early days, like in your childhood, you've been to car shows here and there, as you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
What was your first one for as long as you remember? Like first one you ever went to?
It's funny because I just found some photos of the show. The first one that I remember ever going to was must have been in, showing my age, 1974 5. I was probably 8, 9 years old, and it used to be a big traveling show called World of Wheels that traveled throughout the United States. And at the time, we still lived in Baltimore, and I have photos with at the time, with my sister's fiance or boyfriend, and I at this car show in Baltimore, and seeing each show cars that were Hot Wheels and things like that. And that was the first time, as we discussed, and hopefully maybe you'll show other places in this video. I'm a big Batman fan, and I actually got to see one of the original Batmobiles, and Burt Ward, who played Robin in the original 1966 series, he was there signing autographs. So that's my first recollection of going to a real custom car show. So it was probably 1974 or 5.
I imagine it was pretty huge, in the time.
Yeah, I don't know how many cars. I do know, part of it was inside, part of it was outside, and I have probably a couple dozen photos of different cars that I just found. I've been scanning photos that I found recently, and I did just find those photos of some of the vehicles that were there. And seeing the car, I can, all of these years later, I can remember it vividly. And I had to end up doing some research, funny enough, on some of the forums to find other people that know maybe a little bit more about the Batmobiles and the Bat series that I do. Because I remember the car being not shiny, almost a velvet texture, which I thought was very strange. And come to find out that it was a velvet wrapped car, and they did that because the car shows they took it to, in the lights, it wouldn't reflect light when people took photographs and things. It was used in more media and photography back then, and I was always confused because I said, why would they have a fuzzy car? But it was, and there was one that did the car show circuit back in the day. That is the one that I saw. So I can see it. That was my first vivid memory of being at any kind of a custom car show.
Were your parents really big into car shows?
Not really car shows. We were all into racing. My dad was, even back before I was born, in the 50s and 60s, was a Harley. Actually, he rode Indian motorcycles. He rode Harley motorcycles. Had an uncle that was part owner in a race car back in the 50s and 60s, and we had a good friend of our family that drove it, and it was an old, I think it was a 36, 39 Pontiac. The gentleman that drove it worked for Pontiac and was very successful in the Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia, kind of that circuit, that area. And so my parents, even way back before I was born, used to travel to these race car tracks, dirt tracks mostly, with the race car circuit. So that's part of what we do now, Racers and Rods. We do more car show perspective than we do racing, but part of what we do is still that. So it was more racing than it was car shows back then.
Nice. And they did a lot of racing.
Yeah, we did that, and my brother-in-law raced in Florida here, raced go-karts. When I was a teenager, I was kind of his pit crew. We helped him, and he was very successful doing that. And now his son, my nephew J.R. Weldon, is a driver. He has an open-wheel modified car and races some other things. So he kind of has kept the racing bug alive with us. And I did a little drag racing and that sort of thing. So a lot of it was racing, but always something to do with with automobiles. We always had something around that was either fast or my older brother was back in the day in the custom van in the 70s, had the custom van with the bed in the back and all of that sort of thing. So there's always been something around that we had that was modified or fast or something along those lines.
And for as long as you've done videography and photography for Racers and Rods at these car shows, I imagine you've met a lot of even big name figures too, and not just the car show community, but some celebrities here and there. Was there any famous ones that caught your eye, or that you caught their eye? And
I wouldn't say celebrities too much. Every now and then you run into someone. I know just recently, and I've met him in the past, John Cena, who is the actor and professional wrestler. He lives in the Tampa area, and he's interested in modified cars. He brings his cars out every now and then, and I've met him at a few shows. More along the lines of not necessarily like a mainstream celebrity as much as people that are in the car show scene over the years that have built cars and still promote shows and things like that that for the longest time I only saw either in magazines or in more recently on YouTube and that sort of thing.
So long term, when you do get to the point where you're able to travel more freely, not just throughout the country but throughout the world, any particular auto-related events or even areas predominantly show car related in the world, is there anywhere you want to film and do a photography?
Well, there's so many places. There's so much stuff that goes on in the United States. There's big shows I'd love to attend in Texas. I'd love to see the California scene, especially the lowrider scene out there, where it evolved, where it came from, and just the little amount of travel that we've done through Tennessee and Georgia and some in Virginia and that sort of thing, in the Southeast kind of in the past. Again, all of the cultures are a little bit different. The cars are a little bit different, everywhere. So you see, let's be honest, we travel within about probably 100-mile radius of here in Bradenton 99% of the time. And a lot of the shows that we do in the Tampa Bay area, you see kind of the same cars over and over again. Even if they're beautiful cars, you've seen them 100 times in the past. So there's a lot of traveling that I would like to do to some of these larger shows, the Good Guys shows, some of the larger shows throughout the U.S. and just to get a feel of what's out there. I haven't really thought about it internationally too much, although I've seen some stuff in the past with the Japanese scene, because they do some of their own lowrider type shows and things over there, and just some of the craziness that they do with some of the old import cars and things. I'd kind of like to see that, but that's really not on my on my checklist anytime soon. There's just way too much to see here. I think we are still evolving, even though I kind of consider what we're doing now kind of version 3 of where we are, and you're going to be a big part of this because we've never done a lot of this before, where we sit around and do interviews or interview people at car shows about their background and how they got to where they are and tell us about the car. Although I've always wanted to do that, and we've done it sparingly, we just haven't had time or the people to be able to do that. So whereas a lot of that is done either with comedy in mind, or with the technical side in mind. Here's how you rebuild a transmission, or here's what we're doing to make this car faster, and that sort of thing. You know, we've always kind of been more along the aesthetics and maybe the lifestyle behind it. You know, I've been very fortunate over the past couple years to get involved with a number of people in the lowrider community, and that's a family community, and a lot of it is you know, Hispanic, but not all of it. But it's very, very family based, is what I found, and I've been lucky enough to infiltrate, so to speak, because it always wasn't easy. You know, everyone doesn't let you in to the clique right away, but we've done enough with a lot of those clubs and people where I have a pretty good family following, if you want to call it a following. But a lot of it is the background, is why do you do this? I mean, we just recently, you and I talked about a video I did within the last year or couple years with the Rollin' Low Car Club out of Port Charlotte, who are a family to me. We do a lot of stuff. We go to their shows, and we've done a lot of media with them. But you know, we did a really interesting series or expose on the ladies of lowriding, the ladies of the car club. Everything from the ladies that have lowriders that of their own, to ones that are in it with their husbands. We interviewed some of the young girls that are in it that have bicycles that are evolving. A couple of them have, since we've done the interviews, have evolved from, you know, custom lowrider bikes to now they're teenagers and in their early 20s and now have cars of their own. So I think that's something that's interesting that we have done, but I would like to do more of, that would set Racers and Rods out from some of the other YouTubers, if you want to call us that. That's my vision, is that we still do the media side. We still, because we all still like doing that, taking photos and videos, and all we do is go to other people's car shows, but developing our business plan with the events side. I have more and more people reaching out to me, small places. We have restaurants and assisted care facilities and Kiwanis clubs and all of these places that see car shows around, and they might be doing a fundraiser or something. The one that I was talking about previously that we did with the American Legion, that was very, very successful. We raised a lot of money for, you know, veterans organizations, a number of them, whether they were local or national. We got a lot of sponsors behind us, so it's doable, but it's a lot of work too. So, you know, my thought is, or my task through this end of this year is, where does the event side of Racers and Rods fit into all that? What is our niche? Where do we? Who are our customers? And how do we put them in? How do we put them in a parking lot or a park or something for some kind of an event? Where I think we were very successful with the one we did with the American Legion, and the location helped, and I think the way that I structured it helped. Where I was
more proud of the fact, even than the amount of money we raised for charity and everything, and the number of cars that were there. I was more proud of the fact that in the weeks coming behind that, either by email or by text or by phone call or by seeing people at other shows, the amount of people that came up to me and said, that was a car show. That show, we had fun. It wasn't just sitting in a hot parking lot. Hey, we're in Florida and it's summertime. Behind our car all day. You had things to do. You had vendors there. You had a pavilion that we could sit under. You know, I think it was still cookie cutter in how you present a successful event. But that was the biggest part to me, was proving to myself that, and to proving to the car show crowd, I guess, that Racers and Rods can do that.